They told me the doors would open at 5 sharp, but by 4:30 the crowd outside was already pressing against the glass like it was Judgment Day. 10,000 people, give or take. Mothers with carts, fathers with crowbars, teenagers with GoPros, all screaming about flat screens and half-priced PlayStations. I could hear the roar through the automatic doors, even over the buzz of the fluorescent lights. I'm Marcus Delgado, make, if you've got a name tag too. Express Lane 13. First Black Friday shift of my life, and I only took it because my mom's chemo bill came due 2 weeks early. They promised triple overtime. I would have sold my soul for half that. The store smelled like disinfectant and burnt coffee. Every register light glowed green except mine, flickering, sputtering. Winston Molley, our loss prevention ghost in the tower, radioed down, camera feeds lagging on your lane, kid. Don't look up. Just smile. I didn't look up. At 4:59 p.m., Trish Blackhawk's voice cracked through the bar like the word of God. Attention, shoppers. Welcome to Eagle Ridge Mega-Mart's Midnight Moon Sale. Doors open in 30 seconds. Be kind, be swift, and remember, no refunds after midnight. The crowd outside howled. I watched the seconds count down on my scanner display. 5, 4, 3, 2. The glass didn't slide open. It exploded. Bodies surged through, a black river of winter coats and shopping bags. The air changed, oxygen turned to static. The first woman through slipped on a fallen, doorbuster sign and vanished under the stampede. Someone screamed. Someone laughed. Someone threw a toaster. I hit the register key and started scanning whatever landed on the belt: game controllers, baby formula, cat litter, another controller. My scanner chirped until it jammed on something sticky. I looked down. It was blood. The woman in front of me, reindeer sweater, blinking lids around her neck, was leaning too close, shoving a waffle maker toward me. Her necklace had caught in the conveyor belt's teeth. The motor whined. Before I could reach the emergency stop, the belt accelerated. Her scream cut the air. Plastic bulbs shattered. Then the belt tore her forward, dragging her face into the rotating rubber. Metal teeth shredded skin and cartilage. The sound, it wasn't human. I froze. Blood sprayed the receipt printer, hissed on the hot rollers, and painted my name tag crimson. The bar clicked. Trish's voice, calm as ever. Keep shopping. Clean up on lane 13. No one stopped. Not one person. I stumbled back, hit my knee on the drawer, and nearly fell into the next register. D. Ray Jackson, frozen foods stalker turned wannabe rapper, was grinning 3 lanes over, phone held high, live streaming. Yo, we going viral tonight, he shouted, spinning toward the carnage. I wanted to shout at him to stop, but the Wi-Fi crashed, the signal light blinking red. The footage froze on the image of that torn-apart sweater. Security tape, I thought. Winston sees everything. He'd send help. Then every register around me blinked, error 666. The fluorescent lights dimmed. The air hummed. For a heartbeat, the store was perfectly still, like the moment before thunder hits. Then the power slammed back. People cheered, carts clattered, and I realized we were still open. Trish marched past, shotgun shell lipstick, AR-15 slung over her shoulder like a purse. She didn't even glance at the body. Keep scanning, make, she said. Losses are deductible. Ma'am, someone just died. Someone dies every Black Friday, sweetheart. That's why it's called a sale. She walked off toward customer service, heels echoing. I wanted to run. I really did. But the crowd boxed me in. My hands kept moving, automatic, scanning barcodes through blood smears. At 6:07 p.m., the ceiling speakers popped. A faint whisper threaded through the pop music, something in a language I didn't know. Drums. A woman's voice. Soft, rhythmic, ancient. Lily Reedhawk appeared at the aisle end, janitor cart rolling beside her. Her face was pale under the neon light. She wore her maintenance badge crooked, a bone-handled tomahawk hanging from her belt like a relic. She didn't look surprised at the blood. She just met my eyes and said, "Don't let it touch you. It remembers names." "What does?" I asked. She shook her head. "Not now. The night's waking up." Before I could answer, she was gone into the mob. I wiped the belt with paper towels until my fingers cramped. Every smear seemed to come back darker, thicker. Somewhere behind the aisles, a kid screamed, "Hi, quick," then silence. Winston's voice cracked through my headset again, but it was distorted, buried in static. "See her in every aisle, don't look." "Say again." No reply. Then I heard cheering from frozen foods. I climbed onto the checkout counter for a better view. Hundreds of phones were up, flashlights aimed at the freezer section. D-Ray was there, still streaming, rapping into the camera even though there was no signal. The freezer door, old, dented, sealed since before I was born, was swinging open. Frost poured out in waves, rolling across the floor like fog. People crowded closer, laughing, recording. I hopped down, pushing through the crowd. "Back up!" I shouted. "Maintenance only." They didn't listen. Inside the freezer was a sculpture. That's the only way I can describe it. Bodies, frozen, stacked, fused together like a totem pole of limbs and faces, their eyes milky with ice. Each one wore a name tag. Some from this year. Some from decades past. At the top was a face I knew. Boiler McCoy. The maintenance chief. His mouth was open, teeth rimmed with frost. Carved into the wall behind him, in the rhyme, were words that looked scraped by nails. "Deal never ends." D-Ray kept filming, voice shaking now. "Yo, this some art installation or?" The lights flickered. His phone screen glitched, showing his face and the frozen tower behind him, but for a split second, both faces turned toward the camera. His and theirs. Then the Wi-Fi indicator vanished. The freezer door slammed shut. Everyone screamed. I stumbled backward, crashing into a cart of discounted dolls. Their motion sensors triggered all at once, 10 voices chanting in perfect unison, "Thank you for shopping, Eagle Ridge." When the lights steadied again, the door was sealed by frost. No handle. No hinge. Just a wall of ice with faint shapes moving inside it. I heard Lily again, somewhere near the back of the store, chanting under her breath. The words vibrated in my chest more than my ears. Respect the dead or join them. I ran. Past the registers, past the blood-streaked tiles, into the employee-only hallway. The air was colder there. Pipes dripped above me. I could smell ozone, iron, and something like wet earth. The power system clicked on by itself. Trish's voice echoed, but slower, distorted, as if someone else were wearing her mouth. "Attention, shoppers. Doorbuster in frozen foods. Everything must go." I stopped running. Behind me, the freezer door opened again, with no sound at all. And from that silence, the whisper started. Not a voice this time. More like breathing through ice. "And my name, drawn out like a barcode being scanned. Massacre. I don't remember how long I ran before I stopped. The employee hallway felt endless, a vein carved through the store's concrete skeleton. My sneakers squeaked in streaks of blood I couldn't tell were mine or hers. The hum of the overhead lights followed me like breathing. I slammed through the stockroom door and braced it with a mop handle. The sound of the crowd outside was muffled now, distant but constant, a low, feral roar of humanity fighting over discounts and ghosts. My headset crackled again. Make? You still upright? It was Sheriff Crow, his voice thick with radio static. He must have patched into store comms from his cruiser. Yeah, I whispered, trying to keep my breathing quiet. We've got a casualty. A woman at register 13. I'm outside the north lot, he interrupted. Doors are chained from the inside. Who the hell locked them? I don't know. Trish, maybe. She said. The line popped, dissolved into a screech that made my molars ache. Then nothing. The lights flickered again. The hum turned into a stutter, like the store was short-circuiting on its own heartbeat. Every bulb along the hallway began to pulse in rhythm, bright, dim, like Morse code from hell. I looked up and saw something impossible. A security camera at the far end was rotating on its own, slow, deliberate. When it stopped, it pointed straight at me. The red recording light blinked twice, then multiplied. Not reflections, copies. In that instant, I saw the same frame repeating down the corridor, me, standing in front of every camera at once. 10 of me. 20. Each one a fraction of a second out of sync, like echoes in glass. I tore off the headset and bolted. The door to the stockroom led back out to electronics. TVs stacked 20 feet high, all synced to the same channel, a pre-recorded loop of the midnight moon sale ad. The smiling spokeswoman froze mid-sentence, her grin widening beyond human range. The video warped, colors bleeding into ultraviolet. Then, every screen flipped to security footage. Each TV showed a different aisle, but every aisle had the same hooded figure. Black hoodie, pale mask, standing perfectly still under flickering lights. I blinked. The figure on screen turned its head toward me. Somewhere above, the ceiling speakers howled with static, then shifted into a pattern, drums and chanting, the same melody Lily had whispered. Cherokee, maybe. Or older. The sound wasn't coming from the speakers anymore, it was vibrating through the floor. The shoppers panicked. I heard carts overturning, glass breaking, someone yelling that the exits were locked. A gun went off near sporting goods. I ducked behind a stack of TV boxes. The floor trembled beneath me, like something huge was moving in the sub-basement. Then, darkness. Total. No hum, no light, no power system. Just breathing. Hundreds of them. For a second, I thought the entire store had died. Then the emergency lights blinked back on, thin red strips along the floor, like runway markers guiding the dead. In the red glow, I saw shadows on the walls that didn't belong to anyone. They moved against the light, not with it. Someone grabbed my arm. Easy, kid. It was Jack Herlin, the overnight security guard, ex-paranormal YouTuber turned rent-a-cop. His face looked carved out of fear and caffeine. He still had his body cam strapped to his chest, the red light recording. You get any of that on film? I asked. He nodded. All of it. Cameras went black 5 minutes ago, but the feed's still rolling internally. Winston says the system's seeing double, like the store's overlapping with itself. Overlapping? Yeah. layers. Time bleed. Like a VHS recording over another one, except the ghosts don't wanna stay erased. Before I could respond, the pa shrieked so loud I dropped to my knees. A voice, Trish's, but warped and metallic, boomed through every aisle. Ghost protocol activated. All employees to your stations. Is that real? I shouted. Jack shook his head. There's no such thing as ghost protocol. Not in any manual I've read. Then Winston's voice came through his radio, shaking. They're in the feeds, Jack. The aisles are looping. I see you on every camera. Don't move. Don't. The line died in a burst of screaming feedback. The red lights flared to white. In that blinding instant, every product tag in the store printed at once. Thousands of paper receipts ejecting from printers, fluttering down like snow. On each one, the same item name repeated. Sole return denied. I couldn't breathe. The air was thick with burnt ink and ozone. Jack pulled me toward the employee corridor. We need to find Lily, he said. She knows the old stories. Said something about a cold vault. We get there, maybe we figure out how to end this. We moved fast, dodging the chaos. Aisle 12 was on fire, literally. Candles and cleaning alcohol mixing into a shimmering blaze. Shoppers were clawing at the emergency exits, but every chain glowed red-hot, fused to the doors. Near the pharmacy, I saw Samantha Ortiz, 8 months pregnant, trembling behind a counter. She was on the intercom, whispering prayers in Spanish between power bursts. Scanny. Jack yelled. Get out of here. She shook her head. Can't. The doors won't open. The scanners won't stop ringing. Sure enough, every self-checkout was beeping in an endless loop, the sound merging into a digital chant. Each machine flashed one word, pay. 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 We dragged her out, arm over shoulder, and moved toward the back hall. Somewhere behind us, the chanting from the speakers turned into laughter, not human laughter, more like the store itself was amused. When we reached the frozen foods section again, the air was colder than before, our breath hanging like mist. The freezer door was wide open now, and frost had spread across the floor in patterns shaped like footprints. Not leading away. Leading down. Jack turned on his bodycam flashlight and aimed it at the eyes. Embedded in it were faces, hundreds of them, pressing outward like fish under glass. Their mouths were open in silent screams. We can't stay here, I said. He nodded. Sub-basement stairs are this way. Winston said the power grid runs through something called a cold vault. Maybe that's what's bleeding through. The lights flickered again. When they came back, Winston was suddenly standing 10 feet behind us, or at least I thought it was him. Same uniform, same cap, but his eyes were black as the dead pixels on a screen. Kid, he croaked, don't let it record you. Then he collapsed in reverse, like film running backward, his body folding into itself until there was nothing left but the echo of his voice. I didn't scream. I couldn't. We ran. Halfway down the corridor, every overhead light burst in a shower of glass. My ears rang. Jack stumbled, camera clattering to the floor. The red recording light kept blinking, even with the lens shattered. On the screen, I saw us, tiny, distorted figures running, but something else was there too. The hooded thing from the monitors, following right behind, closer every frame. We reached the stairwell to the sub-basement just as the chanting hit a crescendo. The entire building seemed to pulse with the rhythm. Then the power died again. Complete black. Only the glow from the broken camera remained, casting a faint red circle on the door marked Cold Vault Authorized Personnel Only. Jack looked at me, breathing hard. "You still want that overtime, kid?" I tried to laugh, but it came out as a sob. "Not that bad." He gripped the handle. It was warm, too warm for metal this deep in the freezer section. "Ready?" he asked. The air behind us shifted, pressure change, like a vacuum pulling inward. I could hear footsteps above, the sound of 10,000 shoppers moving in perfect sync, chanting the same phrase over and over. "Midnight moon sale, everything must go." Jack twisted the handle. The door opened by itself. A blast of heat and rot hit us like a wall. Not cold at all. The cold vault was burning from the inside, the frost on the threshold steaming away. Something moved in that glow. A shape too tall for the room, its shadow bending the light like water. And then I heard the whisper again, right behind my ear, closer than my own pulse. "Welcome back, Make." The stairs down to the sub-basement felt like a throat swallowing us whole. Every step we took echoed wet, metallic, like walking inside a drum. The temperature changed with each landing, not colder, but wrong. The kind of heat that smelled alive. Jack laid with his flashlight, bodycam hanging from his neck. The red record light blinked steady now, beating like a pulse. I counted 7 landings before the concrete gave way to steel plating. Pipes ran along the ceiling like veins, dripping black condensation. Somewhere below, something hissed, a deep, rhythmic exhale timed with the flicker of the emergency strobes. "Boiler room's straight ahead," Jack said. "Winston used to sleep down here," said the thing talked to him through the pipes. Thought he was joking. "Winston's gone," I whispered. He didn't answer. The hallway opened into a cavern of machinery. The boiler dominated the center, 40 years old, round as a tank, sweating rust. Its gauges spun on their own, needles rattling against the glass. And above the noise of dripping water and metal contraction came a sound that froze my lungs. It was a woman's voice, gentle, calling my name. "Make, it's me. My mom." I took a step forward before I could think. The boiler's side was pulsing, a faint red glow pushing out from the seams. The air smelled like hot pennies. Jack grabbed my arm. "Don't listen to it." "She's calling me," I said. "That's not her." The voice changed pitch, lower, closer. "Feed me," it said, in my mother's tone but wrong around the edges, like it was learning to speak. Steam burst from a vent overhead, scalding my hand. The hiss turned into a scream that didn't fade until the vapor thinned. I saw faces in it, shoppers, employees, a dozen mouths stretching open in silent agony before melting into mist. The gauges on the boiler all pointed past red line now. The floor vibrated. "Pressure's off the charts," Jack said, checking the panels. "If it blows, it'll take the building with it." He tried the emergency valve, it spun freely, detached. The boiler laughed. Not a metaphorical laugh, the metal laughed, the sound of grinding steel shaping itself into mockery. We backed toward the doorway, and the lights cut out again. In the dark, the red glow from the boiler intensified. The entire surface rippled like liquid, shapes forming in it, hands, faces pressing outward from the metal skin. One hand grabbed the floor. Then another. They were made of molten iron, crawling toward us. "Run!" Jack shouted. We sprinted up the stairs as the floor below cracked open, heat surging like a furnace door. I looked back once and saw the boiler split down the middle, releasing a geyser of white steam that carried screams with it. When we burst back into the first floor, the store was melting. The air was so humid it felt underwater. Ceiling panels sagged, lights swinging on wires. Lily stood near housewares, surrounded by shattered glass and overturned displays. A circle of rock salt and flickering candles marked the floor around her. She was chanting again, voice rising above the chaos, words sharp and ancient. Trish was there too, bleeding from a cut across her forehead, AR-15 cradled like a cross. "What the hell is happening?" Jack shouted. Lily didn't stop. "It's the land. The store's built on a grave they never closed. The boiler woke the watchers. Can you stop it?" "Not alone." The lights above us flickered, forming shapes in the dust, 5 points connecting in a perfect star. The shelves trembled. The air vibrated with power, like the moment before lightning strikes. Trish stepped inside the salt circle. "You're trespassing on my property, sweetheart." Lily looked up, eyes white with smoke. "It was never yours. You bought it with stolen breath." The power system shrieked again, drowning everything in feedback. 8,000 voices layered together, commercial jingles, customer complaints, screams, all playing backward. I covered my ears. Jack dropped to his knees, clutching the camera as if it might shield him. The shelves along the aisle burst open, hurling knives, spoons, and glassware into the air. They hung there, suspended, spinning slowly like a halo. Then the chant changed. The words vibrated through me, respect the dead or join them. Every knife pointed outward. A looter, some guy in a camo jacket, charged into the aisle, swinging a crowbar. "This is insane." "Gimme that," he shouted, reaching for the TV behind Lily. The air rippled. The knives fired all at once. He froze mid-stride, pinned to the air fryer display by a dozen silver blades. Blood poured down the glass cases, hissing when it hit the hot shelves. No one screamed this time. Everyone just stared. The lights dimmed until only the pentagram glow remained. Lily's voice dropped to a whisper. "It's not done. Something's still below." Jack stumbled to his feet, camera shaking. "What's still below?" "The root," she said. "The land remembers what was taken. It's feeding on us until sunrise." Trish stepped out of the circle, wiping blood from her face. "Then we cut it off before dawn." "How?" I asked. She smiled, a slow, tired smile. "You ever seen what happens when greed runs out of customers?" Before I could answer, the floor trembled again. Heat rose from the tiles. Over the intercom, a distorted jingle began playing, the store's old opening theme from the 80s, warped and slowed until it sounded like a funeral march. The mannequins in the clothing section started moving, joints creaking, heads turning toward us one by one. Their eyes were glowing red, reflections of the pentagram above. Lily's candles blew out. All at once, the pentagram's glow collapsed into a single beam of light that shot straight upward, burning a hole through the ceiling. For a split second, I saw shapes in that column, faces looking down from above, thousands of them, watching like spectators. Then the beam vanished, leaving us in total silence. Jack's camera clicked off. Trish looked at me. "You still with us, kid?" I nodded. My throat felt raw from breathing smoke and fear. She tightened the strap on her rifle. "Good. 'Cause midnight's coming." Somewhere deep beneath our feet, the boiler laughed again. The clock on the wall blinked 11:11 p.m. right before the power cut again. For a moment the entire Mega-Mart existed only in pulse light, red exit signs, dying lids, and the faint blue shimmer of freezer frost crawling up the aisles like veins. Somewhere in that strobing dark, the power system sighed to life. Midnight Moon Sale goes live in 5 minutes. Trish looked at the ceiling like she could see the voice hiding there. That announcement's on a schedule, she muttered. But no one's running the schedule anymore. Lily was still kneeling inside her broken salt circle, eyes glazed, whispering to someone none of us could see. The words rolled under my skin like insects. Jack adjusted his camera, its light flickering, and I realized the floor was slick, not with water, but with melted wax and blood. Then the music started. The store's jingle, cheerful, tinny, warped into a pounding bass line. A voice started rapping over it. Dire. He'd hijacked the intercom again. Yo, yo, welcome to the Midnight Moon, baby. Everything must go. Gunshots punctuated the beat. The crowd screamed back like it was a concert. I could hear shelves crashing, alarms wailing, the smell of gunpowder and burnt sugar mixing in the air. Trish racked the bolt on her rifle. Let 'em burn it down. We seal the vault, we seal the curse. She started toward sporting goods. Jack and I followed through a maze of overturned carts and trampled bodies. Half-off signs fluttered in the hot wind from broken vents. A TV wall still glowed faintly, every screen showing a different angle of the carnage, people ripping at one another over flat screens, their faces stretching, glitching, looping in frames of static. We passed the toy section. Dolls hung from their own cords, spinning slowly. Their eyes followed us. In the distance, Dire's voice cracked into panic. Yo, nah, hold up, who's that, what the F? The intercom shrieked. A wet pop. Then silence. The beat kept looping by itself. We found him slumped across a freezer case, phone still recording. On the screen, a chat scroll flew by with heart emojis and skulls. The lens showed him rapping, smiling, then something stepped behind him, a tall shape of fog and antlers. When it touched his shoulder, the feed froze. Jack shut the phone off. We kept moving. Near electronics, a pregnant voice cried out. Samantha. She was on the floor, hands around her belly, screaming. Blood soaked through her work shirt in the shape of the store's logo. I think it's coming, she gasped. Lily knelt beside her, whispering words that weren't prayers but sounded older than them. The lights above us flickered with each contraction. Trish checked the exits. Front doors still sealed. We can't get her out. Jack pressed a hand to his earpiece, listening to nothing. Sheriff Cross still outside. He says the glass is blacking out, like tar. A wave of heat rolled down the aisle, followed by the distant howl of the boiler. It sounded almost triumphant. Then, over the bar, Trish's own voice began speaking, but she wasn't near a microphone. Doorbuster, 85-inch 8K TVS, $99. Limit 1 per blood type. Every shopper still alive turned at once, like puppets tugged by a single string. They roared and rushed toward electronics. Trish's mouth hung open. That ain't me. The stampede hit before we could move. People slammed into shelves, crushed displays, tore each other apart for boxes that weren't even there. Blood misted the air like aerosol paint. Jack dragged me behind a counter. It's using her voice, he shouted. It's feeding through the pa. Across the chaos, Lily stood inside a circle of shattered mirrors, raising her tomahawk. The smoke around her coiled into shapes, arrows of light forming midair. When she threw the first one, it hit a looter square in the chest. The man dissolved into ash before he could scream. Then she turned and hurled another toward the ceiling, splitting a hanging banner that read, "Live at Midnight." The letters caught fire and rained down like burning paper. The crowd scattered. Some dropped to their knees, others kept grabbing at products that were melting in their hands. I crawled toward the customer service podium, where Trish was already typing commands into the ancient bar terminal. Her hands shook but her eyes burned steady. "Gonna cut the power manually," she said. "Hard reset. Maybe break the loop. Won't that kill the lights? Lights don't matter if the world's already dead." She yanked a switch. The store went pitch black. Only the emergency strobes pulsed, one every few seconds, freezing the world into frames of horror, like a slideshow of the apocalypse. Flash, bodies tangled in carts. Flash, mannequins climbing shelves. Flash, a hooded figure standing directly behind Trish. I opened my mouth to shout, but the next flash came too late. A gunshot cracked. Trish stumbled forward, blood splattering across the podium. Another shot, then another. The shooter stood in the strobe light, mask painted with the store's smile logo. "Corporate says you are over budget," he said, voice robotic through a voice changer. He fired again. Trish dropped. I dove behind the counter, heart punching through my ribs. Jack aimed the camera light toward the killer, but the strobe froze him mid-motion, like each frame of his movement was delayed a beat behind time. Then the lights flickered once more and he was gone. I crawled to Trish's side. Her eyes were glassy, chest still. Blood pooled around the podium, soaking into the floor tiles that pulsed faintly like skin. "No, no, no!" I pressed on her wound, but there were 3 of them, neat, final. Jack looked around wildly. "We need to move. If it loops again." The bar crackled. Store closed for inventory. The front doors unlatched with a metallic groan. Chains slid away on their own, clattering like bones. The shooter turned to run. And then the air changed. A blinding white orb erupted from the floor beneath Trish's body. It hovered for a moment, spinning, humming, then shot downward into her chest. Her back arched. The wounds closed. Her eyes opened, glowing pure white. Jack raised the camera instinctively, whispering, "Oh God, no." The orb's glow expanded, flooding every aisle with silver light. Shoppers froze mid-run, mid-scream. Every reflective surface in the store, mirrors, phones, spoons, shimmered with the same symbol, a circle split by an arrow. Trish stood up. The blood vanished from her shirt. The shooter fired again, point blank. The bullets stopped in the air and spun backward, embedding into his chest one by one. He dropped the gun. Every arrow Lily had summoned earlier ignited at once, flaming white. They tore through the store in a storm of light, pinning the man's body to the back wall until it looked like a porcupine of fire. Trish turned toward us, eyes still glowing. "Stores closed," she said softly. The words echoed through the entire building, multiplied through the speakers until it sounded like 10,000 voices repeating them. Then, as quickly as it had begun, the light collapsed. The flames died. The store returned to its sickly fluorescent hum, aisles restocked, floor spotless, like nothing had happened. But the air was wrong now. Too still. Too perfect. Jack lowered the camera, breathing like he'd run miles. Did that just? Trish looked at him, no glow in her eyes anymore, just exhaustion. "You didn't see anything." "None of us did." Lily wiped blood from her chin. "The curse isn't done, Patricia. You can't just reset it." Trish smiled faintly. "Watch me." She stepped behind the counter and pressed the intercom. "Good evening, valued customers. Thank you for shopping Eagle Ridge. Please discard your bodies before exit. The speakers fizzed out. Somewhere deep below us, the boiler gave one final laugh, low, gurgling, like water boiling in a throat. Then silence. The clock blinked to a.m. Jack whispered, "So what now?" Trish looked toward the glass doors. "Now? We clean up." The fluorescent lights steadied, flicking over aisles that looked untouched, except for the faint shadows burned into the floor where people had stood. I could still feel the heat of them through my shoes. They say time flies when you're having fun. In Eagle Ridge Mega-Mart, time loops when you're dying. The last thing I remember before blacking out was Trish's voice saying, "We clean up." The next thing was the sound of vacuum cleaners. I opened my eyes to the bright hum of perfect fluorescent light. The floor gleamed like nothing had ever touched it. Shelves stood straight, stocked, labels aligned by machine precision. A faint scent of lemon polish drifted through the air. The clock above lane 13 blinked 4 a.m. No smoke. No blood. No bodies. For a second, I thought maybe it had all been a hallucination, a panic attack, a bad night dream soaked in overtime. Then I saw Jack's camera still clutched in my hand. Its casing was melted at the edges, the lens cracked and blackened. When I tilted it, ash poured out. I turned around slowly. Lily was mopping near the freezer section, like she'd been there all along. Her uniform was clean again, but her eyes were hollow. "Shift's almost over," she said. "Don't question it. The store hates questions." "What happened to everyone?" she interrupted. "They went home." I looked toward the front doors. A few customers wandered past, shopping casually as if nothing had happened. One of them was the man who would been shot hours ago. Same shirt, same smile. He gave me a nod on the way to the checkout, alive and fresh, receipt in hand. The conveyor belt on lane 13 whirred back to life. My scanner beeped. $6.66 flashed across the screen. Trish's voice drifted from the bar again, calm, cheerful, perfectly normal. "Good morning, associates. We open for Sunrise restock in 1 hour. Let's make this day heavenly." Jack appeared beside me, rubbing his face like he'd just woken up from anesthesia. "Tell me you see it too," he muttered. "The loop. The same people, the same carts." I nodded. "And the clocks stuck. Been blinking the same minute for the last 5 scans." He lifted the camera, turned it on. The cracked lens glowed red, but the display only showed a single line of text. "Footage erased, again." He laughed, a thin, broken sound. "It deletes itself every reset. Winston said the system's memory wipes at dawn, right? Guess we are part of the system now." Across the store, the janitor closet door creaked open by itself. A trail of wet footprints led out, circling the aisles, ending at the freezer door, the cold vault. The frost had reformed, perfectly smooth. Under the ice, I thought I saw movement, not struggling, not screaming, breathing. Slow, rhythmic, mechanical. Like the store was alive. Lily stopped mopping and whispered without looking at me, "It's not the dead trapped in there anymore. It's us." Every shift leaves an echo. The bar clicked again. "Cleanup crew, report to garden center." Trish's silhouette appeared down the main aisle. Her uniform was spotless white now, not the red of management, something older, ceremonial. The AR-15 slung across her back glinted like chrome. Her eyes looked normal, human, but when she smiled, the corners of her mouth didn't quite stop where they should. "Make," she said softly. "You did good work tonight. Real company spirit." "Trish," I stammered, There were hundreds dead. You were shot. You died. She stepped closer, heels clicking on tile that shouldn't echo so much. Death's just another inventory adjustment. The land doesn't like waste, and neither do I. Jack raised the camera, hands shaking. What are you now? Trish's smile widened. Management. The lights above us shimmered. Every bulb hummed in harmony, buzzing into a single pure note that vibrated through my bones. Screens across the aisles lit up one by one, showing her face, thousands of copies repeating her words a split second out of sync. Welcome to Eagle Ridge Mega-Mart, the voices said together. Where every soul finds its shelf. Then, as suddenly as it started, the hum stopped. Trish's image vanished. The real Trish turned her back and walked toward the garden center, disappearing through the double doors that shouldn't have led anywhere. Jack grabbed my arm. We are not waiting for Sunrise. We are leaving now. We cut through the aisles fast, pretending to be part of the cleanup crew. The others, whoever or whatever they were, kept working mechanically, stacking, sweeping, smiling without blinking. At the front, the sliding doors were wide open. Beyond them, dawn was just beginning, or pretending to. The parking lot glowed orange, empty of cars, but filled with fog. We stepped outside. The air was cold, clean. Birds sang somewhere far away. For the first time in hours, I felt human again. I turned back to look at the store. The sign above the entrance flickered once, twice. The name shifted, glitching between Eagle Ridge Mega-Mart and Walmart number 666. Then it froze. Jack exhaled shakily. We made it. I wanted to believe him. But behind the glass, through the fog, I saw movement, me. Another me, standing at lane 13, scanning the same item again and again, smiling. The other me looked up, met my eyes through the reflection, and whispered against the glass. I couldn't hear the words, but I could read them. You never clocked out. Jack pulled me away. Come on, kid. Sunrise is almost here. As we walked toward the empty highway, the pa inside the store turned on one last time. The voice was softer now, distant, almost kind. Thank you for shopping Eagle Ridge. Reopening at 6 a.m. sharp. Doorbusters for survivors only. When the sun finally pushed through the fog, it looked wrong, flat, colorless, like a fluorescent bulb pretending to be daylight. Jack and I were sitting on the curb halfway down the service road, wrapped in emergency blankets we'd stolen from the first aid station. Neither of us said much. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw receipt paper falling like snow. At 5 a.m., sirens wailed across the parking lot. Sheriff Crow's cruiser burst through the barrier, lights flashing blue against the white mist. He jumped out before it stopped moving, weapon drawn. Make Delgado, he shouted. Hands where I can see, M. I raised them, palms still sticky with dried blood that wasn't supposed to exist anymore. He looked at me, then at the store behind me. Christ Almighty, where's the crowd? Where's my deputy? I opened my mouth, but the words caught. Inside, I managed. There, restocking. He didn't understand. No one ever would. Jack stumbled forward, pointing his broken camera toward the building. It resets, he said hoarsely. Every time. Midnight to dawn. You go in, you don't come out, you just reopen. Crow stared at him like he was drunk. Son, that store's been dark all night. Power outage knocked their system offline. We've had units here since 11. No one's been inside. I turned. The Mega-Mart stood silent, sealed, its glass doors opaque with condensation. Through the fogged glass, I thought I saw silhouettes moving, shapes pushing carts, scanning barcodes, smiling. Crow tapped my shoulder. EMS is on the way. Sit tight. He walked off to radio dispatch, muttering something about a false alarm. The sky was turning pink when a local news van rolled in. The reporter looked too awake for dawn, lipstick perfect, hair untouched by the wind. She stepped out, fixing her mic. Authorities in Tulsa County are calling it a mass delusion, she announced. No casualties, no suspects, just rumors of panic during the Black Friday sale at Eagle Ridge Mega-Mart. Doors are expected to reopen tomorrow at 6 a.m. sharp. Her cameraman tilted the lens toward the store as she smiled into the broadcast. Behind her, I saw the sign flicker again. Now hiring, survivors only. I don't remember walking away. Jack and I just moved. We followed the highway east until the store disappeared behind us. At a gas station miles later, we tried to play back the footage one more time. The screen glowed, then showed nothing but an error code. Property of Eagle Ridge LLC, unauthorized distribution detected. Jack threw the camera into a trash can and laughed until he started crying. We parted ways before sunrise. He said he'd post the story anyway, even without proof. He didn't. 3 days later, his channel disappeared. All his uploads, gone. The account said terminated for copyright claim by Eagle Ridge Corporation. I went home to my mom. Told her I quit retail. She laughed, weak but happy, and said I deserved better. Then she handed me an envelope from the mail, a paycheck I never earned. The company logo smiled up at me. The memo line read: Overtime, midnight shift approved. The amount was $666.66. That night, I couldn't sleep. My phone buzzed once at 12 a.m. Unknown number. Shift starts at 5. I threw the phone across the room. It didn't matter. The sound came from somewhere deeper, the faint beep of a barcode scanner inside the walls. Sometimes I still hear it. Sometimes I dream I'm back at lane 13, scanner in hand, smiling for a line of customers whose faces I can't quite focus on. Every beep feels like a heartbeat I've borrowed. If you ever drive past Tulsa and see the Eagle Ridge Mega-Mart glowing blue at dawn, don't stop for gas. Don't even slow down. Because once those doors slide open, the store always needs new staff. And somewhere on the path, you'll hear my voice saying, Welcome to Mega-Mart. Abandon all hope, ye who enter after dark. Fade out, TV static, neon hum, receipt paper falling like snow.